Hello, happy Monday. We usually come to you on Mondays, and thank you for joining us. You are tuning in to another episode of I Can Do All Things. And our core scripture is Philippians 4:13 that says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I recently released a Spanish version of my book, I Can Do All Things, called Todo Lo Puedo. So if you know somebody that speaks Spanish, you want to buy this on Amazon and bless them with it, because there's great stories of being an overcomer, trusting God when things don't go your way or when things get tough, which is a little bit of what we're going to talk about in this episode today. We are doing part 2 of the show called Trust and Surrender. You are watching on HSBN, and my guest today for part 1 and part 2 is Brad Lively. So welcome again, Brad.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Brad is a father of 5. He was an Air Force he's an Air Force veteran and an executive coach currently. And his mission is to change the culture from a culture of fear to love. So, welcome. And
Thank you.
to all of you that didn't watch part 1, I encourage you to go watch part 1. But I would like for you, Brad, to be able to share a little bit of what we talked about on part 1, what it means to really surrender and trust God.
Yeah, we basically talked about my journey and how God called me, and I resisted the call. I told God that I wanted to get my finances in order first and deal with heart issues in my spouse so that we could have all our ducks in a row before we answered the call. Mm-hmm. And that led to all my ducks being broken. And out of order and all messed up. And it was a very painful, arduous process that I had to endure, basically because I chose to worship idols before God. Mm-hmm. My idols being my spouse and my finances.
I was going to ask you to share with them.
Yeah.
Because what we also talked about was that for you, it could be something completely different.
Yes.
It might not be your job, it might not be your finances or your spouse. It could be something completely different. And that's something that they really have to just go seek God about, right?
Yeah.
And you said it really well on the last episode, so I want you to repeat it again. How do they find out or determine what their idol could be, or something that they could be following before putting God first?
Yeah, it's basically what gives you peace in life. Is it looking at your bank account and having a lot of money in there? Is that where you find peace? Is it in your spouse's physical condition or physical appearance? Is it in your physical condition or your physical appearance? What gives you peace and security in your heart other than God? Because these are the things that are causing us to struggle in life. They're causing us to operate in lack, and they're very detrimental to our success and our progress in life. And, Martha and I were talking earlier, a lot of the things that prevent our progress in Christianity, in the kingdom, are the things that we're not willing to admit. The things that we're hiding, the things that we're covering up. Everybody goes to church and puts on a great godly show.
Yes.
Right? Everything's perfect, our kids are great, yada, yada, yada. But if you actually get down to the nitty-gritty, there is struggle. Mm-hmm. And there are things that aren't getting better. There are things that have been a struggle for years and years and years, but they don't want to show that. They don't want to talk about it. They would rather just cover it up and keep it out of sight and out of mind. But the only way that we're going to step into the fullness of who we are. And the only way that we're going to expand the kingdom and express God's love and power through us is if we're willing to be vulnerable and face the facts and come into agreement with what God is saying over our lives. And so he's trying to get rid of the bad so that he can fill our lives with good. And that's what he was doing in my life. He allowed me to struggle year after year after year after year with finances and in my relationship with my spouse and with my kids, until I got to the point where I was like, God, what is happening? What is going on? And my heart was so humbled through all the years of suffering that I was finally willing to listen to what he had to say.
Right. So just for some of you that didn't watch the first episode, it was God coming to Brad and asking him to follow him, which meant like just go. But Brad decided like I have to do certain things like get my finances in order. But it took 19 years of struggle. So things didn't really turn out the way that he expected. And tell them how you realized when you finally came to realize that when you came to be humble before God, you realized that that actually everything you were working towards, God was working against.
Yeah. He showed me in the book of Haggai how he had called me to work on his house with him, but I chose my house first. I wanted to work on my house first and get my house in order, and just like they did in the book of Haggai. You should go and read it. It's powerful. And so because they chose their house first, God was working against them. He'd called a drought on everything. And the wages that they went and earned, he said that you put them in bags with holes in them. So everything that they brought home, also said, God said, whatever you brought home, I blew it away. So they had holes in their bags. God was blowing away all their stuff. He called a drought on everything, all because he was dealing with their idols. He was dealing with the fact that they wanted safety and security before they answered him, before they trusted him. And so he caused all that to be destroyed so that they would come to him and be like, hey, what's happening? And so he could, as a father, then correct them and get them to go the direction he wanted them to go, which was where the true blessings were, the true abundance, the success and the favor and the healing and all that stuff he was trying to invite them into. But they denied him because they thought they knew better.
Right. And isn't it funny that in the eyes of the world, we make it seem like God is doing all these things to us, causing all these bad things to happen in our lives. But we don't share with people that God has required something of us, but we're being disobedient and in rebellion.
Yeah, we're
and
being
that's why
stubborn.
things are happening.
Yeah.
So you finally surrender, and so now I want us to talk about your journey.
Yeah, from that point.
From that point forward, so.
Yeah, it was life-changing. It was life-changing. It's like what I had been waiting on all these years since I had decided to follow Jesus. But what I didn't realize was that for 19 years, and really more than that, there were other things too that I disobeyed on. I wasn't following him. You know, I had joined the Christian club, but I hadn't sold out. And there's so many people that are in the Christian club that belong to church, that sing the songs, that talk the Christianese, but they are still holding on to their idols. And so once I repented, because God rebuked me through Haggai, and once I repented, he asked me to let go of medical sales, which was my 19-year-long career. And so I did. he spoke to me in October through Haggai, and I repented, and he said, I want you to resign at the end of the year. So basically that would give my employer time to find somebody else, and so I said, okay. And so once December came, the end of December, the Lord was like, I don't want you to work. I want you to lay everything down, and I want you to rest, and I'm going to take care of you.
Wow.
And so I
Were
was
you
like,
thinking that God was asking you to leave medical sales, but maybe then he was going to open another door of another job that he wanted you to do? That's what you were
I
thinking?
thought something was going to come. Like I just obeyed.
Mm-hmm.
Like change is coming. The blessings are about to
Favor.
rain down from heaven.
Yes.
You know, and
And it didn't happen. What happened
well,
after that?
so blessings did begin to rain down, but not like I thought. So it never happens like you think, and we
Right.
just have to get used to that in the kingdom, right?
Yes.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
Right.
So it doesn't get to make
Proverbs
sense.
5,
3, 5, and 6.
5, and 6.
Yeah. So here we come. I got my last paycheck like January 19th, and I had no savings, like nothing to fall back on, nothing. And that paycheck was gone in a week or less. So then I had nothing. I had no job. I had nothing. Like I had nothing to trust in, but God.
And
so
you were not living by yourself.
no, I was
your
sharing.
kids were with you.
Sharing, yeah, I had 2 of my kids living with me, and the other 2 were with their mom, and we all lived in the same apartment complex at the time. So kids could walk back and forth. It was really nice. And then my oldest was married. So I fed them all the food that I had, and the kids were like, Dad, where are you going to get money for food? I was like, I don't know, but something will come up. And somebody would send me money, like $200. And so I would go buy food and get some gas, and then something else we'd run out of food, run out of money, and then I would get more money. Like this rhythm happened for a year.
Yeah.
And
And were you sharing the miracles, the small miracles that were happening with your kids?
yeah, they were watching. They knew what was going on. They knew I had nothing. They knew I had no income. They knew I had no job. And so they were actually getting to see this miraculous provision. It was literally like manna in the desert. Mm-hmm. The Israelites would get just enough food for that day.
Right.
Then they'd get just enough food for the next day. And so that's literally how God provided for the entire year. And he would put it on my heart to go somewhere, and I wouldn't have enough gas to get there and home. But somehow I would go to the place I was supposed to go. I would get more money and have enough gas to get home. And so
you were not only paying, so I want people to get the picture, because you were not only needing money for food and gas,
yeah, cell phone,
but you also needed to, pay your cell phone,
utilities,
and your mortgage or
the rent.
your rent.
Yeah. So that was a whole thing. And there were some months I didn't have internet, or I'd have to go without cell phone. It's not this perfect picture that we like to think that God does things. And so are you willing to lay these little things down?
Okay, so what we want to share with you is that in the process or the journey of God moving in His provision, when He's calling us to follow Him, not everything is going to be perfect.
Exactly. Because God's like, what are you going to do if you lose your cell phone? What are you going to do if you lose internet?
Yeah.
Is this going to scare you into go getting a job?
Are you going to stop trusting me?
Are you going to stop trusting me? Right. So it's a very, But throughout the whole time, I had peace. And I had to work through these things like, okay, I'm cool. Like, it's okay if I don't have my cell phone. And even when I couldn't pay my cell phone bill, I would still be able to get texts. Like, I would get minimum coverage. I wouldn't necessarily be able to text them back. Like, it was just a whole thing that I had to work through internally and just commit to trusting him.
And you were leading a group, a Bible study on Zoom.
Yeah,
So you needed
yeah.
your phone.
I needed internet.
Or you need, right.
But somehow he provided. That's the moral of the story, is somehow he provides. Mm-hmm. Like, if need be, I could go to a coffee shop and get on their Wi-Fi. But it just so happened that the Clubhouse Wi-Fi reached my apartment.
Wow.
So I would get to use that some. It worked a little bit, it was enough. And so then people were blessed, they would bless me. Hey, I felt led to give you this money. I felt led to give you $500. I felt led to buy a coaching package. And one really cool miracle was I was on a Kingdom Community Zoom call with this entrepreneurial Kingdom community. And the leader of the call got a prophetic word for me and basically described what was going on in my life.
Without knowing you.
Without knowing me.
What was going on.
Didn't know anything about what was going on.
God speaking to her.
God spoke to her about my situation and really encouraged me and said that he was making me an example of his provision for people to learn from. And she was like, does this resonate with you? And I was like, you have no idea. This is actually what's going on. And I shared a few details. She was blown away. And then as a result of that, the community, there's probably 500 or so people on the call. She opened it up, which she's never done before, for people to give, if they felt led, to give to me. And so I was getting Venmos, Cash Apps, like Zelle. I got over $5,000 from one Zoom call.
Wow.
Which allowed me to pay rent.
That's a miracle.
And pay bills and get food and gas. So it was like, and I wasn't getting on the call looking for that.
Right.
But God provides. Like, he is faithful to provide. And
God is faithful.
Yeah, and so.
Talk about that and faith. How does our faith and our trust work within all of this?
Yeah, faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. And control is being sure of what you have and certain of what you see. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what the type of life we want to live. We want tangible things that we can feel and taste and hold to make us feel safe. But God has called us to a different life. It's being sure of what you hope for. It's actually taking God at his word. That's what faith is. You said that if I put you first, you'll take care of everything else. Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to you. Faith is believing that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, if I have you, Jesus, then I have everything. And that's really what I was learning. And so I stopped desiring, I was in this little 2-bedroom apartment, the smallest living space probably I'd ever lived in. And I'm 48 years old. And I had more peace, more contentment, more joy, more thankfulness than I ever had all the years before. Because this is where God had me, and he was with me, and we were finally on the same page. And so
that's amazing.
It just taught me that, hey, if you step out and you trust him, he's got you. Like, he really will take care of you. Mm-hmm. And now it's been, a year and 4 months, right? Mm-hmm. And I still don't have a job. But, and I did have to move out of the apartment. I did go through an eviction, and people were like, oh, see, that's not God. Well, I disagree. I felt like he was dealing with me and my pride. Would I endure an eviction in obedience to his word?
Right. Or would you throw out the towel and just say, like, God, I don't want to serve you.
Right.
I'm done.
Like,
you
you're not-
promised to take care of me, and look at what's happened.
Yeah.
So I'm going back and I'm getting a job.
Yeah. And I just felt like it wasn't an eviction. I felt like the cloud was moving. And so, and he never changed what he spoke to me. So I shouldn't change what I'm doing. I just need to trust him.
Right.
And go with what he said, the last thing he said, which was, don't work, I'm going to take care of you. And so the cool thing is, on the other side of that eviction, I've experienced more favor, more finances have come into my life. This season that I've been in for the past 4 months has been completely different. And whereas before my gas tank stayed on maybe 80 miles I had in my gas tank, and then it would go down to E, and then maybe up to 40 miles, and then down to E, I barely had enough. Now I'm able to fill up my tank every time I run out of gas. Now I'm able to go buy groceries when I need groceries because I have money in my account. God actually gave me favor with another kingdom citizen, like I have never had before. And he's increased my provision on the other side of the eviction. So it's like, okay, you stayed faithful, you trusted me, now I'm going to take you a little higher. Now I'm going to give you a little more, and let's see how you do with that. And so he likes to test us with little,
Yes.
so that he can give us a lot. Because he wants his kingdom citizens to be stewards of his resources. He doesn't want the
Good
wicked.
stewards.
He doesn't want the wicked to have all his resources. But he's also not going to entrust kids that don't trust him with his resources.
Right, like the prodigal son.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I know we're running a little bit out of time, but you shared a story last week with our
yeah.
Bible study group, and it encouraged a lot of people that were listening. So I would like for you to share it with them.
Yeah.
So tell us exactly what happened. Because-
So, I had to move out of the apartment, and then God provided a home for me to stay in. And it was with this precious 87-year-old man who was living alone. And so he opened up a room to me. So I stayed in a room of his house. And it was just divine timing, because not a month after I got there, he had been struggling with cancer, and it really sent him on a decline. And so I was able to help him a little bit through that. And then he went into the hospital, and then he died within 2 weeks.
Wow.
I came into his life right at the end of his life, and was just able to be a
there.
companion
Yeah.
for him. Yeah. And so I went through that process with the family, and they buried him. And then I got to stay in the house a little while longer, but as a part of the will, he wanted to sell the house and put the money in a trust for the grandkids. So I had to get out, and I didn't have a place to go. And so here it was, the day that I was supposed to be out, and I still didn't have a place to go. And everybody's asking me, where are you going to go? Where are you going to live? I'm like, I don't know, but God's got it worked out. And so I got the U-Haul, loaded up the U-Haul, still didn't know where I was going to go. I felt led to help the family move their stuff out of the house as well. So I did that for a few hours. And then I felt led to get a storage unit. So I prayed about it and found the storage unit. went to unload all my stuff in the storage unit, still didn't have a place to live. So then I had to take the truck back to U-Haul. So I take it back, and
Barely had money
barely
for
had
that,
any money
right?
left. After the storage unit, I had to book the storage unit. I had like $26 left. I'm like, hopefully the U-Haul is covered. After they adjust the charges and the mileage and all that stuff, the guy said, okay, you only owe $1.96, because you paid a deposit earlier. That's it. So I had enough money. And then as soon as the guy at U-Haul said, okay, you're good to go, my phone rings, and it's 5:30 in the evening, and it's a friend of mine. He's like, hey, they knew my situation, and they said, hey, we just had a roommate move out of our house yesterday. He
Wow.
was supposed to be out 2 months ago, but he moved out yesterday. He's like, we just want you to know that you're welcome to come stay with us. Like, we have a room for you, and we're not going to charge you. And so I was like, wow.
And that's where you are now.
And that's where I am now.
And what I want you all to know is to just see everything that Brad shared and in his journey of following God and just trusting even day by day.
Yeah.
And just for you to know that not when you choose to do your own thing, but when you trust God when he's called you to do something, to leave something, to walk into something, then just know that he's going to be there for you. He's going to provide, and he's going to take care of you.
Maybe not the way you want,
Right.
but the way that's best.
Yeah, because he's a loving father, and he wants the best for you. And no matter what happens, he will turn all things for your good, just like the word it says in Romans 8:28.
Yeah. Yeah. So trust him and know that he knows best. And that if something's not happening when you want it to, it's probably because there's an issue in your heart that you're not dealing with.
And if you choose to trust, just know that you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome.
And